Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jared here with another concert review. This one is Red Hot Chili Peppers with Ice Cube opening that happened on June 21st, 2024 at the Mid-Florida Credit Union Amphitheater. Now, it's my first concert since last September when I saw Guns N' Roses, so very excited to finally get to another one. Red Hot Chili Peppers, one of my favorite bands of all time. Definitely would say they're in the top five. And I have missed out on them multiple times over the years. So really wanted to go and went ahead and decided to go with my mom. And yeah, going there, the traffic was terrible on I-4 on the way over to Tampa. But got there just in the nick of time, basically. Showtime was 7 o'clock, got there around 6:15-ish. Parking was free, which is a major plus. Really happy about that. Walked up to the amphitheater. This go around, I actually waited really late to buy the tickets. This is something Joe in Vegas Reviews, or whatever his name is, that I follow on YouTube, mentioned in one of his videos that he buys all of his tickets like right before showtime because that's when they go way cheaper, people trying to resell them and whatnot. So it's something I've kind of dabbled the idea of over the year or two, and finally decided this time, like, I'm really gonna do it. Like, I'm not gonna wait very long before showtime at all and get them. So that's what I did. I just kept refreshing, and I saw like good seats, good tickets for good prices. But every time I would go to get them, they would already be bought up. So clearly other people had the same strategy. And yeah, eventually I saw pit tickets for $300, which I thought was a good deal considering most of the tickets, like the nosebleed seats, were like in the 200s. So if I could get pit tickets for $300, definitely wanted to do that. And yeah, after a few tries, finally got those and was super, super excited. Was not expecting to be in the pit, was really expecting to be up in the nosebleeds. But yeah, something that I'll never forget as far as that goes. So I've never ever been to this amphitheater before, never been to this venue, so it was definitely a first time experience for me. You know, getting into the place, I wanted to mention there was not a lot of people wearing Red Hot Chili Peppers attire, which was really weird to me. I was like, are we fucking even going in the right direction? Like, are we in the right place? But got in the venue. It was cool because they give you a pit wristband. So we get in there. And first thing I want to do, you know, is look at the merchandise. I always love getting like a specific show t-shirt and like a lithograph, like poster related to the show if possible. I know a lot of artists do this now. So yeah, I went to the merchandise, and the merchandise was extremely expensive. The shirts were like $50 each basically, and then they had the poster. It was $50. Then they had like a bigger poster. I guess it was like a foil poster or something like that. That was like $100. So I was like, damn, that sucks. But definitely wanted to get a couple items there. I was initially gonna get the shirt. There was a white t-shirt with the Red Hot Chili Peppers logo, the red one. And on the back it had the 2022, 23, and 24 cities on it. And I didn't really notice at the time, but they didn't have the tour dates on them. It's just the cities. It literally just says 22, 23, 24, and then a shit ton of cities over the, 3 years that they've been doing this specific tour. And yeah, disappointed they didn't have the dates on that, unfortunately. But I kind of wish I would have maybe analyzed the other stuff more, and maybe I could have found something that would have fell more into the category that I was looking for. But either way, they didn't have my size for the shirt I was looking for. So they had a similar shirt. It was the blue one, and I went ahead and got that one. That was the one I was debating on getting anyway. So, which was fine because like one of my Red Hot Chili Pepper shirts that I have now is actually very similar to the red one. So, it's cool to differentiate it with the blue one basically. So, got that stuff. The venue pricing on the food and drinks was really, really high, extremely expensive. I personally didn't get anything as far as that went. So went ahead and went inside the venue. It was cool. They just had like kind of like a little sidewalk area that they had the pit access to. They just check your wristband, you go right in. And this is a surprise to my mom too, because when I bought the tickets, it was on the way to the venue, like I said, and I didn't tell her what I bought at all. So she was super, super stoked. It was a great moment where she was extremely hyped and just, just couldn't believe that that's where we were going to be watching the show at. So kind of just fell in the crowd. We were on I don't know if that's stage right or stage left, but the side of the stage that Flea is mainly on. And the venue started to file in, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, I think this is smaller than an arena, but I'm not sure. So I looked it up, and it actually holds 20,000, so it's actually bigger than an arena. Smaller than a stadium, though. And I've never been at a concert at an amphitheater in general, so that was another first time experience. So there's a dude next to me that had a Prophets of Rage shirt, which I thought was cool. Never seen a Prophets of Rage shirt. And got inside the venue around 7 o'clock, right around specific. I mean, it says 7 o'clock show time, but they give you time to get in there, and the opening act will start a little bit later. So I happened to turn around and just had one of those small world incidents where the second I turned around, I made eye contact with a former coworker of mine. He happened to be walking in. I had no idea he was coming. It was a crazy thing. So of course I went over and said what's up, and we ended up, the three of us, watching the show together in the same spot in the pit area. He said he got pit tickets for $300 a few weeks ago, so he nabbed those up pretty quickly. His first time seeing Red Hot Chili Peppers too, so really unexpected moment, but that tends to happen at times. I feel like everything happens for a reason. So that was really a really cool moment that we all got to share together. So at around 7:45, I would say, is when Ice Cube started. Now, this was one of the big selling points of the concert for me, is the fact that Ice Cube was performing. I have gone through NWA's discography. I plan on going through Ice Cube's discography even before this concert, but I'm definitely super interested. I was definitely super interested to see him live, and the fact that he was opening for the Red Hot Chili Peppers was just, I was like, I have to go to this show. He was performing with Dub C. I'm not familiar with Dub C, but I thought he did a really solid job, as did Ice Cube overall. They had great chemistry, and definitely got the crowd hyped. The stage kind of had these two inflatable hands that they were performing in front of. But Ice Cube came out. I think he looks so cool. He wears all black. He kind of wears not a Raiders jersey, but a Raiders shirt, I believe. It kind of had the silver 24 on the back and on the front also, with Ice Cube on the back. He wears his hat with the bandana underneath and the sunglasses. He just looks so fucking cool. And I thought he had really good dance moves. I just thought he was really cool overall. I'm not going to go through his entire set list, but he played for about 45 minutes, which is pretty typical of an opening act. Maybe a little longer than some opening acts, but Red Hot Chili Peppers tend to play a shorter set. So it was not that surprising to me, especially him being Ice Cube. He's pretty decently big act that he would play for longer than 30 minutes. But he played, some of these songs I definitely recognize, Check Yourself. That's one of his biggest ones. He did some new stuff. The video board behind also showed a lot of old pictures of him, and also at one point he showed the front cover of his new album coming out in the summer. One thing that I really liked was he actually threw in some NWA stuff, which was really cool. Straight Outta Compton, Gangsta Gangsta, a couple of my favorite NWA songs, obviously classics. He didn't play, to my recollection, he didn't play the whole songs. He kind of just played maybe just a little bit of each one, kind of just snippets of them. But it was really cool he threw those in there. I wasn't expecting him to. I didn't really know if he would. It honestly didn't even cross my mind. So that was a surprise for me. Of course, diehard Ice Cube fans are probably oh, of course he's gonna play NWA, and he's been playing NWA stuff in his solo act for years. But me not being super familiar with him, I was just pleasantly surprised about that. And then he ended with "It Was a Good Day," which I expected him to play it. It's definitely my favorite Ice Cube song. That was a really cool song to end on as well. But yeah, I thought they did a solid job. And at one point he was talking about, like, some people probably looked at this like, Ice Cube opening for Red Hot Chili Peppers, that's weird. And I think that is definitely true. I think a lot of people probably thought that. And his reasoning was basically, we actually toured together in 1992, and we also we have a producer that we both dealt with, and this specific producer is, like, he said, like, his psychedelic godfather or some shit like that, or spiritual godfather. And so they had that connection there. And also, I wanted to say, during the show, you could see Flea and Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers off to the side of the stage watching the show, which was really, really cool. And it was just awesome. I just feel like they're really humble and just nice guys. And they're like, they're not the type of guys that are just going to be like, oh, I don't give a fuck about the opening act. Like, they are genuinely, like, they respect Ice Cube and like Ice Cube, and, like, wanted to see his act and off to the side of the stage watching it, which was cool. So yeah, played for about 45 minutes. Of course, after his show, they all the crew comes out and starts to, like, change the stage around, get ready for Red Hot Chili Peppers. Pretty quick transition, honestly. Red Hot Chili Peppers came out around 8:50, and yeah, I always love that opening hype of the concert when the lights go down, the crowd goes crazy. The beginning of the concert for me is always the best. It's when the hype is the most, and it's just adrenaline pumping and just craziness. So they came out and started with an intro jam, and I was not surprised they opened with an intro jam. I'm not 100% sure how often over the course of Red Hot Chili Peppers' career they start with an intro jam, but I know at least in recent years that's what they've been opening with. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of them opening with an intro jam. It is different, and I will give them that, but me personally, I like artists opening with a specific song, and it just, like, starts like that. I will say Anthony Kiedis does not participate in the intro jam, but this is one of the cool things I think is about the intro jam, is the fact that when they're doing it, you can see Anthony off to the side of the stage, just, like, getting himself hyped up and just watching the guys and listening to the guys play the intro jam, and just himself getting hyped up off to the side, just watching him get ready. So they opened the actual set with Danny California, and yeah, I definitely, I was hoping they would open with Around the World, personally. I feel like that is like the perfect song to open with when it comes to Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like, the way that song starts and everything, I wouldn't want them to open at every single show, but I was hoping for my show they would at least do that. But Danny California was the first song. Then they went to the Zephyr song. Not a big fan of the Zephyr song. Then they did Aquatic Mouth Dance from Unlimited Love. Wasn't expecting them to play that one. And I really went into this not being super familiar with their current set list. So yeah, some of this stuff were surprises to me. They did Other Side, they did Snow Hey-O. I will say about Snow Hey-O, this is a song that my brother learned on guitar a long time ago, and he really liked this song. It's got to be one of his favorite Red Hot Chili Peppers songs for sure. And it was interesting because, like, a few days before the concert, I was recommended this video talking about how difficult it is to not only play Snow Hey-O on guitar, but to sing it, to sing the parts as well. So during this particular performance, I was really analyzing John Frusciante, and just watching him sing and play the guitar lick at the same time, that was really interesting to watch. And then, speaking of John Frusciante, they go into Eddie from the newest album, Dream Canteen, and this is I think this is the most that John Frusciante really shined on the whole concert for me. Like, the way he ended this song with his solo was just so passionate and so energetic, and it was just it was just unbelievable. I will never ever forget this solo he did on Eddie, which is, you know, it's a tribute song to Eddie Van Halen, so it makes sense. And I will just say overall, you might be able to tell just by some of the songs I'm naming off. I think that some of the song, I feel like a lot of the songs in this set list were either like slow or mid tempo. I didn't think there were a lot of like super hard, fast tempo songs in the set list, which is a little disappointing, but it's like not that surprising considering their age. I mean, they are in their, you know, 50s, I believe. And, but, you know, their energy is still so good, especially for their age, especially Flea. Flea's like, he doesn't seem super different compared to when he was younger, but their energy was very good for the most part. So they go into I Like Dirt, not a huge fan of that one. Then they did Soul to Squeeze, Tell Me Baby. Tell Me Baby was definitely one that really stood out to me. I thought was particularly good for Frusciante. Just loved hearing his guitar on that one. But as far as his guitar goes, I do think there were moments in the show where his guitar it sounded out of tune, and I could be wrong. Maybe it's just being that close to the stage and it just being so loud. I mean, speaking of it being so loud, my ears were ringing for a good like day or two after the show. But yeah, something I felt like I noticed, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought his guitar was out of tune at times. Yeah, you know, speaking of like mistakes too, I didn't think they made a lot of mistakes. I think they have such great chemistry and they have such a great friendship and just an aura about them that I think is just so awesome. Like they really seem like great buddies and friends. They talk to each other. They talk to the crowd a lot, like in between songs, and they seem genuine. And you know, you can see them talking to each other like in between the songs and smiling and laughing and everything. You can just tell that there is such a bond between these guys that is so genuine, which I thought was really awesome. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. They went into Don't Forget Me. This is one I was very happy about. I really like this song. And this was the moment I felt like Anthony Kiedis really showed his what word am I trying to use? His emotion, I guess, throughout the whole show. This was the song that really stood out for Anthony Kiedis for me. Don't Forget Me. He has those long notes that he holds, and he was just so energetic in between the notes, running around the stage, circling around. You could just see it in his face. He was just so into it. So that was a huge highlight for me. Don't Forget Me. They go into Havana Affair. This is a cover by the Ramones, and I was not familiar with this song at all. I had to look at the set list after. Well, I was going to look at the set list afterward anyway, but that was one of the things I definitely wanted to look up after the show. What was that song I didn't recognize? This is the only one I didn't recognize, and it was a Ramones cover, Havana Affair. And they played it a decent amount over the course of their career, I looked. But it was the first time in a little while they had played it. Last time they played it was like the end of 2023, so it's been a little while. So not a like, for diehard Red Hot Chili Peppers fans, that was probably like a little bit of a surprise that they threw that in there after all these months. Of course, they did Californication, then they did Black Summer. Black Summer is one that I definitely was so happy they played. I have to say, it's in my top 5 Red Hot Chili Peppers songs. Really sentimental to me because it came out the year that I was dealing with a lot of personal stuff, and really glad they played it. And of course, great energy during that one as well. Just real quick, this kind of reminds me, I wanted to say there were numerous people in the crowd who were getting thrown out just for being so rowdy, which I guess is typical of a rock concert, being in the pit and everything. I've never really been in a pit of a rock concert. I guess the closest I would say was when I saw Buckethead for the second time a few years back. I mean, they didn't have like a pit, but it was like, you know, general admission standing room at the House of Blues in Orlando. And I was basically like third row. This show, we were basically like third row, so it was very similar. But I will say next time, I want to really try to, if I'm in the pit, which I'm sure I will be at some point during a concert, I want to get in like the middle, get that good like balance of like Frusciante on this side, Flea on this side, and then Kiedis and Chad Smith in the middle. Definitely something I will remember going forward. But yeah, then they did By the Way, and then they did the encore, and they ended with Under the Bridge, and then of course Give It Away. Glad they played Under the Bridge. I know Joe in Vegas, I'm pretty sure in his review he was disappointed because they didn't play Under the Bridge at his show, but they did at this one, which I was happy about. And then they ended, like I said, they ended with Give It Away, which I was not surprised about. I figured they would probably end with Give It Away. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the band members' appearance. Of course, they look older for sure. Don't get me wrong. That's to be expected. A lot of people look at that as a negative, but it's like it's just life. Frusciante, he was wearing his classic like just t-shirt, which also glue in the dark, by the way. He had a white t-shirt, but there was some stuff on the front that would glow in the dark in between songs, and his baggy shorts and his high socks and everything. Anthony Kiedis was shirtless the whole show, just wearing some white Playboy shorts, and he actually had a boot on, which I thought was interesting. I have no idea what happened with that. I guess he broke something, but you wouldn't really know it with the way he was running around the stage and everything. But yeah, if anyone knows exactly what happened with that, please leave a comment in the section below. So that was interesting. And then, yeah, he also wore a cowboy hat near the end of the show. Flea, he was also shirtless the whole show, and he was wearing kind of like a blue like kilt or like skirt kind of thing, which I didn't realize. I thought it was just shorts, but my mom was like, no, it looks like a skirt or like a kilt or something. And then looking back at my videos and pictures, I'm like, oh yeah, she's right. He really was. And just wearing some like goofy looking shoes and socks. Lots of guitar changes for him and John throughout the show. Nothing like super notable as far as that goes, other than Flea, he did his Los Angeles Lakers bass guitar near the end of the show, which I thought was cool. Not a Lakers fan, of course, definitely not being a Nuggets fan, but still cool to see that. Also, I wanted to mention with Flea near the end of the show, he also went on top of the set, like next to Chad Smith, like super high up in the air near the end of the show, which was cool. Chad Smith, he still looks like Chad Smith, obviously a little bit older, but still wearing the classic, backwards ball cap and everything. But yeah, threw a lot of drumsticks out to the crowd, and sometimes he would just throw drumsticks in the air and it would just fall on the stage, and that was it. Obviously hoping to catch one. None ever came close to me. But yeah, I did want to mention too, it being in Florida, it was a very hot concert, especially being in the pit and just being around so many people. It's kind of claustrophobic, it just elbow to elbow, and it definitely was something of note being in the summertime too. Was the heat for sure. And also during the show at one point, I noticed like off in the distance you could see lightning strikes out in the distance. Even though it was an amphitheater, it was covered, so you didn't have to worry about rain or anything like that. But yeah, I would say the pit was a cool experience, and overall, I enjoyed the pit. But is it something that I would want to do every single time? Probably not, just because of some of the obnoxious people. And like I said, it is hot, claustrophobic, and sometimes you get like tall people in front of you and you have to like maneuver your way to like get them out of your line of sight and everything, and just standing for like all those hours. It's cool, but would I want to do it every single time? Probably not. It would be nice to like not have to worry about some of those things at certain shows, maybe not in maybe just having like a seat in the lower section. And I felt really bad for the people up in the nosebleeds and in the lawn area, because they looked like dots from where I was standing, and I just really hope they didn't pay an assload of money for those seats when they could have gotten like a better seat or whatever for cheaper. But that's the game you have to play. So Anyway, overall, a very good show. I would say out of 10, I would rate this an 8.5. Um, I was disappointed a little bit. They didn't play some of the songs, some certain songs that I wanted. Like Around the World, for example, was one that I really hoped, and I also think about songs like Parallel Universe, The Heavy Wing, Bag of Grins. They never played Bag of Grins live, but that's one I would like to see. Um, yeah, even like Charlie, songs like that. But yeah, still overall a good mixture of songs. There was a good balance of like songs from a bunch of different albums, even threw in a cover in there. Songs from like the new era and the old eras. They played just under 2 hours, and that's pretty typical of Red Hot Chili Peppers. So not super upset about that or anything. So like I said, especially with their age. But yeah, very good show. I think they still have good energy. Still a show that you wouldn't want to miss. So glad I finally got to check them off my bucket list after all these years. And yeah, it was an unforgettable night all around. So hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all can comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.